What's up everybody, Brian here at Acne Be Gone. Today's video is a very interesting topic. I actually coined this term myself. I call it post-traumatic acne disorder. What does that mean? What is this guy even talking about? Well, just to kind of fill you in on what's going on, the other day, I was shaving, and as I was shaving, I realized that I had a little bit of a sensation right there on my left cheek. And as I go to examine it, because as soon as I feel any kind of pressure, I immediately go to the mirror and I'm just like, what's going on? What's going on? I looked at it and I pushed on it and I realized, I'm like, oh man, I have a bump coming in. And it wasn't a small bump. You actually couldn't see the opening, but it kind of I don't even know how to explain this, but it wasn't just like this one little bump. It was like a mound, if that makes sense. So in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. I can't believe this is happening all over again. I knew I shouldn't have eaten those extra sweets the other day. Shouldn't have had that chocolate. But at the end of the day, I know how to handle my acne at this point. I know how to manage it. So I did a couple things and I wanted to bring this specific topic to you. All this coming right up. So as I was mentioning, you guys, the other day I got a little bit of a bump. It was actually a big bump right here on my left cheek. And, in my mind, immediately I kind of reverted back to all those, bad emotions, bad feelings, negative self-talk. I reverted back to all of that within an instant, and I've gotten to this point where I'm like, all right, I know what to do. I don't necessarily have to worry about, breaking out as much anymore. If I do break out, I know how to kind of combat that. I know how to make sure I get rid of it within a 2 or 3 day period of time. But nevertheless, I felt like I was triggered. I felt like all of a sudden my mood went from up here all the way down here within a very short period of time. And, I kind of asked myself, I'm like, why is this happening? What's going on here? And I realized that there's a lot of emotions and a lot of issues and pain. There's a lot of that stuff that I suppressed over the years. I really didn't like talking about my acne. I never really liked telling anybody how I felt. I could barely, even talk to someone about it while they were looking at me face to face if I had a lot of acne on my face at that period of time. In my mind, I was like, I have to avoid this at all costs. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to deal with it. I just leave me alone and don't talk to me about my acne. I know I have it. There's no reason to even bring it up. And that was pretty much my mentality for years and years on end. So the other day when I felt that bump, I felt like all those bad feelings just kind of came rushing in again. And I realized that I still haven't dealt with a lot of those emotions. There's still a lot of work that I have to do in order to kind of know how to psychologically deal with my breakouts, because I've gotten to this point where it's I know how to physically deal with them, but psychologically I still kind of revert back to those old feelings. And this isn't the first time it's happened. It's actually gotten a lot better, but in the past, let's say 2 years ago when I first started dating my wife, I remember I had just broken out. I had some bumps right here on the bridge of my nose, on the bottom part of my nose, underneath here my eye. These are really weird areas. You can't really get to them that easily if you want to kind of get the stuff that's on the inside out. And I remember I broke out and I couldn't help but just be a party pooper. You know what I mean? I was just I went into this mode of self-pity. I went into this mode where I'm like, don't look at me. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to hang with anybody. Just leave me alone. All right. So, that was 2 years ago. And prior to that, because, I learned how to, manage my acne somewhat when I was towards the tail end of my 4 years in college. But nevertheless, over that period of time to this day, I've still kind of dealt with some trial and error. I've still dealt with a couple of zits here and there, a lot of breakouts still. And, when I would get those breakouts, I'd go through these periods of time where I'd have clear skin and then boom, I'd break out. And then when I'd break out, I realized I would just kind of dive and I would spiral into this really bad place, where once again, I was talking really badly to myself. There was a lot of negative self-talk. All those feelings of self-hate came up, and I just kind of was drained of my motivation to do anything. I didn't want to exercise. I didn't care about eating right. I didn't want to go outside. I just wanted to stay locked up in my room. And this is what it was like when I was dealing with acne on a consistent basis. So I realized that with this term post-traumatic acne disorder, I'm just like, okay, there's still pain there. There's still, some stuff there that I still haven't dealt with entirely. I've learned a couple of things along the way as to what it is that I can do in order to kind of like attack that as well. Because there were a couple of things that I used to do that I realized that I shouldn't be doing, okay? So the first thing that you shouldn't do is something that I used to do a lot, and it was just stare at myself in the mirror. I would look at myself and I would just stare at myself with this judgment, with this, really, really kind of like aggressive and hateful emotions that I had towards my reflection. You're looking in your reflection and you're just like, why do you look like this? You know what I mean? Like, that was what I was feeling. And I would do this for like 45 minutes, an hour. And I wouldn't just do this one time. I'd do this multiple times throughout the day. I would go to the bathroom and I would just stare at myself and look and see, like, in my mind, I'm like, look at the horror that's on your face. You know what I mean? And you can't do that. And I had to stop doing that too. It's like, I have to learn to stay away from my reflection. I had to learn that the hard way because I would do it so much and I'd be like, this isn't really doing anything. And not just that, but I'd realize the longer I'd go without looking in the mirror, the more that I would just kind of forget of what was on my face, and I was able to be myself a little bit more. I was able to be a little bit more authentic in certain situations. But the more and more I looked at my face, the more and more self-conscious I got, and the more and more I would just kind of be socially awkward. I really wouldn't talk to people. I'd be looking down. I wouldn't be looking at people in the eyes. I'd barely contribute to any conversation or anything of that matter. So it's like, don't look in the mirror. Do not look in the mirror, because that's what I used to do, and it was really, really bad. The second thing you cannot do is allow the lack of motivation to just kind of stop you from doing anything, because that was another thing that I suffered from is, when I'd break out again, I'd be like, ugh, why have I broken out again? And I wouldn't exercise. I wouldn't eat right. I wouldn't be drinking my water like I was supposed to. And in those situations, I allowed the lack of motivation that I felt because of all the bad feelings that I was harboring to just let myself stay locked up in my room and not do anything, not talk to anyone, and not deal with it. Now, the next thing that you shouldn't do is wash your face more than once throughout the day. If you're washing your face more than once throughout the day, all you're doing is taking off all the oils off your face. You're telling your body it needs to produce more oil, and ultimately you just end up either breaking out more or just prolonging the breakout to where what you could have gotten rid of in like 3 days, you got rid of in 7 days. So that's the next thing that you can't do, is just wash your face all the time. That was something that I would do in that moment, like where I'm just kind of like, and I'm panicking. I realized that I would just like do all these things that really wasn't helping me. It was actually being really detrimental to what was going on. So I'd wash my face like 10 times in the day. And you can't do that either. That's a big no-no. It's one time a day, and that's it. Usually I like to do it at night. In the morning I'll rinse, but at nighttime is when I wash my face. And then the last thing that you can't do is allow yourself to just do whatever you want because you feel that, hey, I might as well because, I'm not going anywhere for a couple of days. What I would do is I would just eat whatever I wanted, when that was just not what I should have been doing. I should have been eating a little bit more properly. I should have been eating foods that weren't going to be spiking my insulin levels. And if you think about it, when you do these things, it's like, not only are you making your face more prone to break out in other areas, but you're just contributing more and more to that one zit or that one breakout that you're having at the time, and just making matters worse. So those are the 4 things that I would say that you should not do. Don't look in the mirror. Don't allow that lack of motivation to keep you from doing what you should be doing. Don't wash your face more than one time throughout the day. And also, don't let your feelings allow you to walk down the path that you shouldn't be walking down. Typically the path that you feel like you're more inclined to walk down is the path that you shouldn't be walking down. And when I say that, I'm talking about not working out, not eating right, not drinking water, just kind of like vegging and watching television, when in reality, you should be doing other things like working out, eating right, drinking lots of water, getting outside, getting some sun. So now, here are some of the things that you should do if you do break out and you feel like, all those feelings of, negative self-talk, all those feelings of self-hate, of pity, of guilt, of shame, of embarrassment, when all those feelings do rise up and they resurface because you did break out, here's a couple of things that you should do. The first thing you should do is put yourself in an environment where it doesn't matter that you have a breakout. Like, it's not going to affect you as much. One of the things that I really like to do is just be outside. So whether I can go for a run, or I can play some disc golf, or I can just, go for a walk, or go for a hike. Doesn't matter. Like, if I'm able to put myself in a situation like that, I'm killing a couple birds with one stone, because one, I don't have to worry about, like, oh my God, what's everybody thinking about me? In my mind, I'm just like, I'm at peace, and it keeps those stress levels down. Because when you have those stress levels up, it's really not going to help. You're just going to do things in desperation, and they're probably just going to be really, detrimental to your overall facial health and aesthetic well-being. But by going outside, or by putting yourself in a situation where it doesn't matter, you are able to, kind of relieve yourself from all those all those bad feelings that you're just like, I don't want to, I don't want to feel. And you're not trying to avoid them. That's not the issue, because nevertheless, they're still going to be there. But the idea is to begin to do different things that are going to help you manage those emotions, as opposed to avoid them. So you're still going to have to deal with them, but if you put yourself in a situation where you're feeling a little bit more at ease, a little bit more comfortable with yourself, you're going to be able to kind of build that habit of just like, all right, when these feelings do come up, I put myself in a situation where they're not going to affect me as much. One of the things I like to do is go outside, so I'm getting sun, I'm getting exercise, I'm getting out of my head, which is really important. The second thing that you should do is do something about it. All right. So a lot of times when I would break out again after after my really bad acne episode of 15 years, one of the things that I would do is just not do anything. I just sit in my room. I wouldn't do anything. I'd just allow myself to be consumed by my pity and my guilt and my shame and embarrassment. I would allow myself to just kind of like wallow and be in the corner and not let anybody talk to me. And that's the wrong way to go about it, because if you're going about it that way, it's like, you're never really going to get out of that, and it's just going to prolong the breakout even more. So by taking steps to begin to, fix that little issue, you're going to naturally feel better. You're going to naturally be like, all right, I do have a bump on my face, or I did break out, but nevertheless, I did go for a run today. I did drink lots of water, and all these things are helping me take steps to where it is that I want to go, which is once again to that clear skin that I really, really enjoy. So that's the second thing that you have to do, is just take steps to make something happen, because when you're taking steps, naturally you feel better and your self-esteem just kind of boosts up as well. The third thing you want to do is you want to eat and drink properly throughout that period of time. A lot of times if I do break out for like 2 or 3 day period, I'll just eat a certain diet. I'll eat mostly vegetables, I'll drink mostly water. And the reason why I do this is because I don't want my insulin levels to spike too much. You know what I mean? If you do break out and you're still eating lots of sweets, what happens is you're still going to be producing excess oil on your face, and you're just going to be more prone to other breakouts, or you're just going to contribute to the breakout that you have right now. And you're just going to make it that much harder to go away. So one of the things that I like to recommend is drinking water when you first wake up. I like to have vegetables for breakfast during those periods of time. This isn't like all the time things. This is just when I break out. I'll have vegetables first thing when I wake up. I'll have it first thing before I eat my lunch, and then I'll eat my lunch after, and then I'll do the same thing for dinner as well. Followed by the proper facial routine of just washing one time throughout the day, cold water, and well, you can start with warm water, but you always want to finish with cold water, but then also finish up with one, good moisturizing session as well. Really get that skin as moisturized as possible. You don't want it to be dry at all. So there you have it, guys. If you are breaking out and you feel like all those bad feelings are starting to resurface, make sure that you put yourself in an environment that, it's going to get you out of your head. Make sure that you take steps to, clear up your skin, and just make sure that you're also eating the right things, drinking the right things as well during the right times throughout the day, in order to make sure that your hormones stay as balanced as possible throughout those next couple of days until you clear up your skin. Anyways, guys, this is Brian here at Acne Be Gone. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. Also, if you want daily tips, blog posts, articles, check out my Facebook page, Acne Be Gone, and hit the like button as well so you can follow everything that we're posting up. And lastly, if you haven't done so, be sure to check out my website, theabgoutlet.com. It's a one-stop shop for all your acne fighting needs. I'll see you guys next week. Later.